Hello students, welcome to the lecture on routine correspondence, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Define the circulars, explain the drafting notices, describe the handling complaints, discuss the evaluating interview performance, understand the articles and formal invitations, describe the performer for performance appraisals, discuss the letters of appointment, describe the caption for advertising, define dividends. Let's start with a brief introduction to routine correspondence. The routine correspondence is any communication that is part of the normal schedule of events. Often there are memos, letters, email, phone calls, or anything else. Thank you letters, acknowledgements of orders, complaints and reports all would be considered routine correspondence. Anything that is done often and is communication is routine correspondence. Including correspondence from various individuals, companies and organizations requesting information pertaining to agency and legal interpretations and other miscellaneous inquiries. This correspondence is informative. Routine. Correspondence is the primary means to communicate both within and outside the Coast Guard. It refers to letters, memorandum, messages, electronic mail, and directives. Since most of our communications are conducted through the written word, it is important to compose correspondence that is cordial, responsive, correctly written, and concise. Let us study the next topic, circulars. Circulars or flyers are a highly effective way to communicate with employees or customers. Many companies use circulars to enforce dress codes and policies or invite employees to meetings or luncheons. Circulars can also be used as an advertising tool. There are a number of benefits to using circulars, but a circular must include certain features to be most effective. Additionally, distribution is important for circulars in business communication. Benefits: circulars are an inexpensive and fast way to distribute information. Managers can create a circular on their computer and print out multiple copies in 30 minutes or less. Circulars are also highly informative depending on the level of information needed. For example, a company needs only a few lines of copy to inform employees about a seminar. Circulars can also be informal and non-obstructive. People are free to read or ignore them. Identification: circulars in business communication must target a specific audience. For example, a circular inviting company employed to learn database management is geared toward marketing research managers and computer programmers. A company that distributes circulars for its newspaper is targeting people who do not have a subscription. Writers who keep their target audience in mind will usually produce more effective circulars. Features: the most effective circulars usually have several key features. The most important feature is the heading, which targets a specific audience. Function: like other advertising pieces, a business circular will usually follow the AIDA: attention, interest, desire, action, principle. The circular should be designed to attract attention with a strong heading or images. It must then hold the reader's interest and ultimately compel her to buy a particular product or service. Companies can enhance a reader's desire for a product by making the circular believable. Giving the reader a reason to buy immediately will also increase her desire. Distribution to consumers. Business owners can post circulars on grocery store bulletin boards or include them with the daily newspaper. Some business owners place circulars on people's car windshields. There are also companies that distribute circulars door to door along with other offers. Businesses may include a circular in a direct mail package. All of these methods can be highly effective in reaching the consumer. Now let's talk about drafting notice. A notice usually remains in effect for less than 6 months but is not permitted to remain in effect for longer than a year. A notice has a self-cancellation provision. The cancellation date is always stated. when the exact length of time a notice is to remain in effect cannot be determined at the time of issuance. The specific date for record purposes is set far enough in the future to allow all necessary use of the notice. Reports and procedures covered in a notice are considered cancelled when the notice is cancelled unless requirements have been issued in another document. Cancellation determinations are shown at the top right corner and or as a last paragraph titled Cancellation Contingency. Contraventions. The subject matter of the notice can only cover one requirement. However, if this involves contravention of more than one legal provision, example of contravention of 2 HSWA and a contravention of a relevant provision of a regulation, you should include reference to all the contraventions in the notice. A notice may cover an identical requirement applying to a number of similar machines but must not cover unrelated matters. No matter how impeccably your business is run, you are going to get complaints. Customers will call you, angered by a mistake you or a member of your team made, and employees will air grievances feeling management has been unfair to them. How you handle these situations can make or break your company. The following 4 steps, uncomplicated yet effective in nearly every situation, will help to diffuse complaints and turn an unhappy person into a loyal fan. Listen with an open mind. Hear what the person has to say without prejudging the situation. Let the person speak his mind fully, without interruption and without questioning the validity of the problem. Before you say anything, you should fully understand what has happened and precisely why the person is upset. Repeat the problem back. Once you see where the complaint is coming from, repeat it back in your own words so the person knows you have grasped her position. Some people might correct you on a few points, but keep parroting their position back to them until they acknowledge that you have gotten it right. Empathize and assure that something will be done. Without admitting any fault on the part of the company or placing blame on anyone, a sincere empathy will help neutralize any anger the person feels. Follow up promptly. As soon as possible, follow up with a report on what went wrong and plan to take to rectify the situation and prevent it from happening again. Empathy and trust will diffuse conflict and allow to handle complaints effectively. Empathy and trust improve relationship and communication, complaint handling, customer retention, and help to diffuse misunderstanding or even conflict. Empathy and trust are essential to understand others' positions, develop solutions, win and retain business, and avoiding conflict. Prevention is better than cure. These days we need to be more effective communicators to be successful in business and in life. Moving on, let us now talk about how to evaluate the interview performance. An important step in the performance evaluation process is the supervisor's discussion with the employee. After the form has been completed and the overall evaluation score determined, the results should be discussed with the employee. This should entail two-way communication, conveying the necessary information and answering all questions the employee has about the evaluation. Supervisors should remember that if the employee's performance was evaluated throughout the year on a daily, weekly and monthly basis, there will already be a high level of knowledge about the results of the performance evaluation. Accordingly, there will probably be no significant disagreement in the overall evaluation. If misunderstanding or disagreement occurs, this is the time to recognize and resolve it. In addition, this is also the time to set goals for the following evaluation period and consider training and education requirements for the employee. Interview process techniques. Interview and evaluation presentation skills take time and practice to master. The following techniques are suggested as guides to help make performance evaluations more objective, accurate, and more likely to be well received by employees. Communicate in advance. Explain expectations for employee job performance at the beginning of the rating period. As a part of the evaluation review, the form will with the employee and explain how it will be used. Throughout the year, Discuss job performance as it occurs and explain how you relate to it, the performance standard. Answer all questions openly and thoroughly in order to eliminate any confusion about your expectations and the rationale behind the evaluation. Evaluate performance for the entire year. It is difficult to remember incidents that happened 10 or 11 months ago. However, the performance evaluation covers the whole year. Therefore, performance notes should be kept so that the evaluation will reflect incidents that happened last month, 4 months ago and 8 months ago. It is recommended that a critical incident or progress log be maintained on each employee. Significant, positive and negative job-related events should be recorded and discussed with the employee throughout the year. And this will form the basis for the performance evaluation. Be careful not to let the most recent performance or one positive negative incident dominate your evaluation of an individual. Performance evaluation techniques. Most employees consider the formal evaluation discussion to be of great importance since it concerns his/her performance and progress and possible monetary or other reward. Consequently, it should be taken seriously by the supervisor. The practices that will help make this session a productive and meaningful meeting for both the employee and the supervisor are: plan the evaluation session in advance by defining your objectives for the interview and by outlining the key points you wish to cover. Explain to the employee that the primary purpose of the evaluation is not to grant or withhold rewards or merit increases, but to promote a common understanding of the work objectives and to provide the employee with feedback that the supervisor feels will be of benefit in the employee's personal growth and advancement. Plan and schedule the interview for a time and place which provides privacy and undivided attention. Encourage the employee to discuss any portion of the evaluation he/she feels is incorrect or unfair. Listen to the employee during the interview, especially immediately after negative feedback has been given. This is when an employee could become defensive and will need to react and explain. Recognize this need and listen. The more the employee talks, the more the defensiveness will dissipate. He/she will then be more willing to look at the situation objectively and accept your evaluation. Your attitude and interest regarding the employee is more important than any counseling technique you may use. If the employee sees that your primary objective is to help him/her do a better job, the evaluation is more likely to be successful. If you put yourself in the role of a judge and the employee is the defendant, the evaluation interview will most likely be a waste of time. articles, and formal invitations. Event and meeting planners are expected to contribute to or write formal invitation letters and materials for the meetings, incentive trips, and other programs that they organize. This does not have to seem like an overwhelming task, but it is important to follow certain steps in order to follow proper invitation etiquette and avoid missing important details for your guests. Create an event theme. Before writing formal invitation letters and materials, planners must make sure they have an enticing theme for the program. The following questions will help begin the brainstorming process. Is it an educational conference, seminar, or incentive trip? Where is it being held? What is unique about that destination or venue? What is the rough schedule for the event? What are some of the goals behind the program? Why would an attendee wish to attend? These questions will help to establish a great event theme. Create an electronic invitation. Many formal invitation letters and materials for major events have now been moved to online registration systems because of the volume of important event logistics that must be captured during the RSVP process. Spelling of names, contact information, dietary requirements, disability access, transportation needs, program details, activities information, and more. Create a printed invitation. Depending on the nature of your program or event, invitation etiquette may suggest that you should be writing formal invitation letters and notes to let your guests know that you really value their presence. This is different than the event materials. Instead, consider a simple invitation card that provides valuable information to your guest, including the host and his/her title, theme of the event, dates or time, and an RSVP contact. Writing formal event invitations. As part of the electronic invitation, you should outline high-level information about the program and event. For example, if this is an incentive trip or multi-day conference, you will want to include the following: the destination, main hotel, conference venue, the main topic, speakers including bios, schedule activities, logistics, and details about registration. Invitation letters and materials should provide guests with a reason to attend and always include a call to action. Performer is a term used to describe how financial statement numbers are derived based on a set numbers of assumptions. These assumptions are either hypothetically defined or derived from prior business experience within the company or similar company. They are most often seen when creating balance sheets or income statements. In Latin, pro forma means according to form or for form's sake. The term is used in business and project planning to estimate what-if scenarios. It is often used to create an estimate of the value of something as if some event has already happened. Pro forma business plans. A pro forma appraisal of a business plan provides a best estimate of the effects of the proposed transaction. This is generally required by investors and lenders when significant changes are being made and new capital is required. These investors want to know the effects the changes will have on the company's ability to generate income, cash flow, and free capital. In other words, if things change in the proposed manner, exactly how much more or less income will the company generate. Pro forma creation. Companies will often hire an outside firm to create an independent pro forma appraisal of projected cash flows, net revenues, and taxes before a major merger or acquisition. This will have current numbers where applicable and estimated pro forma numbers where necessary. These pro forma numbers will be clearly labeled and have notes explaining why they vary from the current numbers. Pro forma accounting. In contrast to pro forma appraisals for acquisitions that are designed to clarify possible outcomes, some companies have used pro forma accounting to make their books look better than they actually are. This was common in the dot-com era in California. In such cases, pro forma accounting is significantly different than generally accepting accounting practices, GAAP. Captions for advertising. Captions create an image for your business, an image that determines the way you are seen by our customers. At Captions, our mission is to make the best media accessible to all consumers. We are proud of our long-term relations with leading national and multinational organizations, both in the private and public sector. The caption is a phrase, sentence, or paragraph describing the contents of an illustration, such as a photograph or chart. The caption is usually placed directly above or below or to the side of the picture it describes. Similar to captions, a call-out is usually more label-like in nature, identifying specific elements of a photo or illustrations, often by placing the call-out right on or all around the image, while a caption is more of a general description of the photo. After headlines and graphics, captions are the third most looked at portion of most printed pages. Captions provide an opportunity to both explain the illustration and summarize the accompanying story. Well-written captions are one more opportunity to pull the reader into the publication. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Circulars in business communication must target a specific audience. For example, a circular inviting company employee to learn database management is geared toward marketing research managers and computer programs. Including correspondence from various individuals, companies, and organizations requesting information pertaining to agency and legal interpretations and other miscellaneous inquiries. This correspondence is informative. It does not attempt to influence agency policy. A notice usually remains in effect for less than 6 months, but is not permitted to remain in effect for longer than a year. A notice has a self-cancellation provision. Customers will call you, angered by mistake you or a member of your team made, and employees will air grievances, feeling management has been unfair to them. How you handle these situations can make or break your company. The goal of this process is to show the customer that you truly care about his patronage or the employee about her work on behalf of the company. Make sure all your employees know to use this process with their customers and that all managers know to use it with employees.